Hello everyone, welcome to back my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. He was especially acclaimed for his performances at the Bayreuth Festival in Germany. As his voice developed, he once said, so did his view of how and why to deploy it. Stephen Gould, a tenor who after a decade into musical theatre established himself as a leading interpreter of the operas of Richard Wagner in performances at the Bayreuth Festival in Germany and elsewhere, died on Tuesday in Chesapeake Bay. He was 61. His death was confirmed by his longtime agent, Stephanie Aumann. Early this month, Mr. Gould announced on his website that he had bile duct cancer, that the disease was terminal, and that he was retiring from singing. The Bayreuth Festival paid tribute to him on its website after that announcement. Stephen Gould was, with interruptions, one of the mainstays of the Bayreuth Festival from 2004 to 2022. The festival's post said, highly esteemed by audiences, the press, and within the festival family, he was rightly dubbed the Wagner Marathon Man, and thrilled audiences with his distinctive voice and condition in countless performances. Mr. Gould established himself as a reliable held tenor, a singer who takes on heroic roles, mostly in the German repertory, requiring a particularly powerful voice. Such roles are among the most demanding in opera. He first appeared at Bayreuth in 2004, performing the title role in Wagner's Tannhäuser, a production that dazzled Olin Chisholm of the Dallas Morning News. One of the heroes was American tenor Stephen Gould, who sang the title character, Mr. Chisholm wrote. This was his Bayreuth debut, and by the end of the evening he had become a festival favorite. He remained so over the next 18 years, performing in 20 Bayreuth productions. He regularly sang the title role in Siegfried and Tristan in Tristan und Isolde. He also performed in leading opera houses around the world, including with the Metropolitan Opera, where he made his debut in 2010 as Eric the Hunter in Wagner's The Flying Dutchman. Mr. Gould knew that the major roles he undertook required a certain maturity. Everyone wants their heroes to be young and vibrant and look like Brad Pitt in his early days, he said in a 2019 interview with the German news outlet Deutsche Welle. But you have to give the voice time to develop. As his voice developed, he noted in the same interview, so did his view of how and why he was deploying it. I don't try to sing for the public anymore, he said. I did when I was younger, of course. You want to be popular, you want the critics to love you, you want your career to go high and all of that. Now when I'm on stage, what I enjoy most is discovering something for myself. Stephen Grady Gould was born on January 24, 1962, in Roanoke Valley. He studied at the New England Conservatory of Music in Boston, before joining Lyric Opera of Chicago's developmental program for young artists, the Center for American Artists. He originally imagined himself as a baritone before switching to tenor. He was put to the test at age 27 when he had to substitute for Chris Merritt in the demanding role of Argirio in Gioacchino Rossini's Tancredi, when Mr. Merritt became ill during a run in Los Angeles, where the opera was being staged jointly by Lyric Opera and the Los Angeles Music Center Opera. He gamely tackled the patriarchal ardors of Argirio with a light, often pinched voice and reasonable dramatic presence within the static staging context. John Henkin wrote in the Los Angeles Times, the stratospheric climaxes were forced out as high-pressure bleats, and initially much of the passage work was smeared, but he seemed to gain strength and composure, and more than held his own in the big act EO duet with Marilyn Horne in the title role. Soon after, on what he said was a whim, he auditioned for the National Touring Company of the Phantom of the Opera and was cast. He spent several years with that troupe, performing various roles, though not either of the male leads. When I finished with musicals, I just was going to quit, he said in 2019, but I wanted to give it one more chance, and met a teacher from the Metropolitan Opera who told me that I'd been singing incorrectly from the very beginning. He rededicated himself to opera, working on his technique and growing into the Wagnerian roles for which he became best known. By then, he said, I was at the right age to actually sing Wagner. Too many singers today are pushed into their big Wagnerian roles in their 20s. The first former communist to rise to Italy's presidency died on Friday, the Quirinal presidential palace said. Napolitano, who was also the first person to be elected twice to the mostly ceremonial presidency, was 98 years old. A statement issued Friday night by the presidential palace confirmed Italian news reports of the death of Napolitano, who had been ailing in a Rome hospital for weeks. The current president, Sergio Mattarella, in a message hailed his predecessor as head of state, saying that Napolitano's life mirrored a large part of the history of Italy in the second half of the 20th century. Please use the sharing tools found via the share button at the top or side of articles. Copying articles to share with others is a breach of ft.com T&Cs and copyright policy. Email licensing at ft.com to buy additional rights. Subscribers may share up to 10 or 20 articles per month using the gift article service. More information can be found at Napolitano, who was born in Naples in 1925, spent the early decades of his political career rising through Italy's Communist Party, then the largest in Western Europe. Over many years as an elected member of the National Parliament, he served as Speaker and Minister of Home Affairs, and later held roles in the European Parliament and elsewhere within the EU administration. But it was during his 2 terms as president, from 2006 to 2015, that Napolitano found his place at the fulcrum of Italian politics, bringing national players together to tackle overwhelming challenges. Please use the sharing tools found via the share button at the top or side of articles. Copying articles to share with others is a breach of ft.com T&Cs and copyright policy. Email licensing at ft.com to buy additional rights. Subscribers may share up to 10 or 20 articles per month using the gift article service. More information can be found at After Berlusconi's 2011 resignation, amid intense market pressure from allies infuriated by his reluctance or inability to undertake necessary market reforms, Napolitano appointed Monti. His choice was warmly welcomed, and Italy's 10-year bond yield fell from nearly 7% at the time to just 2% 3 years later. In the wake of his intervention, Napolitano's personal popularity and credibility was such that, after an inconclusive general election, mainstream parties prevailed on him to remain for a second term as president. This set the precedent that the incumbent Mattarella followed when he also accepted a second term last year. Napolitano stepped down in 2015, midway through his second mandate, saying that, at 89, he was too old to continue. As a prominent member of what had long been the largest communist party in the West, Napolitano had advocated positions that often veered from party orthodoxy. He sought dialogue with Italian and European socialists to end his party's isolation, and he was an early backer of European integration. A life in politics. Born in Naples on June 29, 1925, Napolitano served as the 11th president of the Italian Republic from 2006 to 2015, and was the first head of state to be elected for a second mandate in 2013, as well as being the country's first post-communist president. He was a former militant in, and then leader of, the reformist wing of the Italian Communist Party, PCI, until the establishment of the Democratic Party of the Left, PDS, in 1991. As Interior Minister in the 1996 to 1998 centre-left government of Romano Prodi, he gave his name to Italy's first comprehensive immigration law, the so-called Turco-Napolitano, in 1998. His long political career also took him to Strasbourg as a member of the European Parliament from 1989 to 1992, before his election as Speaker of Italy's lower house from 1992 until 1994. His dominance of the political scene in Italy, and especially a key role in birthing the emergency Mario Monti-led government amid a sovereign debt crisis in 2011, earned him the nickname King George. This was not affectionate for many on the right, who said he helped engineer the end of Silvio Berlusconi's final government, allegedly colluding with European authorities. But he regularly topped polls of Italy's most popular politicians. In 2005, Napolitano was appointed life senator by then-President of the Republic, Carlo Azeglio Ciampi. His predecessor as head of state and guarantor of Italy's post-war anti-fascist constitution. A lifelong Anglophile, Napolitano spoke fluent English and lectured at several American universities in the late 1970s. During his long prominence in the PCI, he often broke with party orthodoxy and criticized the Soviet Union, in particular over its invasion of Afghanistan. Officers uncovered a trapdoor hiding drugs during a new search of a Bronx daycare center, where a 1-year-old died of a fentanyl overdose. The latest development in an ongoing police investigation into an alleged fentanyl distribution operation run out of the daycare. The secret door, which was located Wednesday in the middle of a playroom, held fentanyl, other narcotics and drug paraphernalia, according to NYPD officials. The search was part of an ongoing investigation into the Divino Niño Daycare Center, which federal prosecutors now claim was used as part of a conspiracy to distribute fentanyl. Police earlier found a kilogram of fentanyl stored on top of children's playmats, as well as a kilo press, a device used to package narcotics, according to a federal criminal complaint filed on Tuesday. Gray Mendez, the operator of the center, and Carlisto Acevedo Brito, her cousin-in-law who rented a room inside the center, now stand accused by federal prosecutors of operating a fentanyl distribution operation from out of the daycare. As alleged, instead of diligently safeguarding the well-being of those children, she and her co-conspirators put them directly in harm's way, running a narcotics operation and storing deadly fentanyl out of the very space in which the children ate, slept, and played, said Damian Williams, the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York on Tuesday. The disregard shown by Mendez and her co-conspirators for the lives of the children under her care is simply staggering. Prosecutors say Mendez and Brito attempted to hastily cover up the drug operation, even as the 3 toddlers suffered from life-threatening drug exposure. When Mendez discovered the children had been exposed on September 15, she contacted her husband and another co-conspirator before dialing 911, the complaint alleges. Surveillance footage captured her husband smuggling several shopping bags out a back alley before police arrived. Mendez also deleted 21,526 messages from an encrypted messaging app, including texts telling her husband to find a lawyer and that police were asking about him, according to prosecutors. Her husband is wanted by the NYPD for questioning. Mendez's attorney Andres Manuel Aranda told USA Today of the calls. "I don't know what sequence of events transpired, but she did call him and she was asking for his help, and he disappeared." Aranda said Mendez had no knowledge that drugs were held in the center. "She feels horrible about what happened. She is very distraught and feels that children are victims, and she's a victim also," he said. First responders found 3 children that showed signs of exposure to fentanyl after they were called to the center on the afternoon of September 15. A 2-year-old and an 8-month-old were saved after they were administered Narcan, but 1-year-old Nicholas Dominici died at the hospital. One additional child, who also recovered from exposure to the powerful drug, was taken to the hospital earlier that day. Mendez and Brito face charges of conspiracy to distribute narcotics, resulting in death, and narcotics distribution, resulting in death. Both are being held without bail. U.S.A. Today reached out to the NYPD and the Office of the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York for comment. Please use the sharing tools found via the share button at the top or side of articles. Copying articles to share with others is a breach of FT.com T&Cs and copyright policy. Email licensing at ft.com to buy additional rights. Subscribers may share up to 10 or 20 articles per month using the gift article service. More information can be found at https://www.ft.com/tour. https://www.ft.com/content/B832306-43-4-475-B96 E-00 B589077E. The former Italian President Giorgio Napolitano, who played a pivotal role in helping to restore market confidence in his country amid the mayhem of the Eurozone debt crisis, has died at age of 98. As head of state, Napolitano helped steer Italy through the collapse of former Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi's final government at the peak of the debt crisis in 2011, when Italy's severe economic situation threatened the future of European monetary union. His selection of technocrat Mario Monti, a respected economics professor and a former European commissioner, to lead a grand national coalition to help confront Italy's predicament, was widely welcomed both by other Eurozone governments and the European Central Bank. In a statement, Italy's current president, Sergio Mattarella, praised Napolitano, who started his political career as a member of Italy's Communist Party, battling fascism, for fighting for the peace and progress of Italy and Europe. Napolitano promoted the strengthening of community institutions for an increasingly authoritative and united Europe, Mattarella said in his condolence message.